Welcome, scholars, to Lesson 2-112, Artistic Ottomans. Today we're going to be looking at the culture of the Ottoman Empire and really how the flourishing empire as a whole led to a blossoming of artistic abilities and talents and culture as a whole within the Ottoman Empire. First, let's do a general discussion about what these large periods of general internal peace mean for these empires. You've probably heard of the Pax Romana when you studied Roman history. That was the internal peace of the Roman Empire. I have mentioned the Pax Mongolica. There's also a Pax Americana. And today we're going to be talking about the Pax Ottomana. This is Latinized speak. It just basically means the peace within these great empires. It does not mean that the empires themselves are at peace. During many of these periods, there's actually quite a lot of warfare, but it's all external, expansive warfare. It's not internal warfare. So within the empire, the centers of their civilization are not experiencing attacks or raids. They're generally very peaceful. For example, during the Pax Ottomana, an individual in Istanbul would be able to safely travel all the way down to Baghdad or to Cairo or to Algiers throughout the empire in a state of safety. They don't need to worry about raiders. They don't need to worry about paying for protection. They're not going to be attacked. This is a very peaceful time for these people to be living within that empire. Now, on the borders, they're fighting quite a bit of wars of expansion, and that's a different case. But that is not what we mean by Pax Ottomana or Pax Romana or any of these paxes. Does not mean that there is no war at all. Just means that internally they're free from threats. And during periods of time like this, we always see a flowering, a flourishing of culture. Now, within the Ottoman Empire, we are dealing with an empire that is absorbing a tremendous number of people. The Ottoman Turks themselves really only lived in this area. This is where Osman lived and expanded from. And everybody else was conquered and absorbed into this empire. So we have a lot of different cultural practices that are all mixing together and absorbing and becoming fused into this one Ottoman culture, which is distinct. It's different than Greek culture, it's different than Arab culture, it's different than Persian culture. It becomes an Ottoman culture. And it's really accelerated in this case because the empire doesn't just include all these people, but there's a great amount of tolerance. And the tolerance leads to intermarriages. The intermarriages leads to the greater understanding of cultures and the acceleration of that entire process. So it becomes a pretty safe cultural mix fairly quickly. Now, aspects of culture that really thrive include literature. Literature is probably one of the lesser known parts of the Ottoman Empire. They really did stay away from prose. They didn't do a lot of short stories, novels, romance, or any of those things. Really, the truly Ottoman literature focused on poetry. Within the Ottoman Empire and within Ottoman poetry, you see wonderful uses of symbolism, in particular, to other literary conventions as well. And mostly they're meaning to write poems that can be interpreted in a variety of ways. The Ottoman poets did not want to be direct. They did not want to be clear. They wanted to write poetry that would have meaning to a large number of people and can be interpreted different ways. This is natural out of a multicultural empire. You want your poetry to mean different things to different groups so that everybody finds something that they can relate with it. As it comes to Ottoman prose, their writings and short stories and stuff like that, we don't really talk about there being a distinct Ottoman prose. It was so highly borrowed from French literature at the time. The Ottomans were reading French literature. They were exposed to French literature. The few Ottoman writers were copying French styles. So they didn't really develop a distinct Ottoman style of their own like they had with poetry. Where they did create something distinct and what they're best known for is their architecture. This is their fullest and most lasting area of Ottoman artistry. The stuff that they created was really, truly amazing in this light. There are some absolutely beautiful mosques that were created throughout the Islamic Empire. This is the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, and it is considered one of the most beautiful mosques in the world today, certainly one of the most beautiful of the time. And these styles come about because of this blending of different architectural styles within the empire. Persian style, Greek style, Islamic features blend together to create these Ottoman works of architecture, which are truly amazing. Additionally, the Ottomans were really well known for some decorative arts. They were true believers that arts should serve a purpose. And in Ottoman artwork, we see a very functional role in much of their art. A couple of things that they were really well known for include calligraphy. Calligraphy is the artistic practice of handwriting, so making your handwriting into an art. We'll add decoration to anything that includes this writing. You see very decorative writing throughout mosques and on public statues throughout the Ottoman Empire. Additionally, Ottoman carpets were highly prized and viewed as wonderful works throughout the time. They're still considered some of the best, finest carpets in the world today. Beautiful, rich patterns, religious symbols, and these carpets are really built to last. Next up, and interesting within Ottoman culture, are their performing arts. Now, within Islamic culture, you don't traditionally see a lot of plays. Islamic traditions don't like to put the human form out there for entertainment in such a way. It's the same reason why you don't see a lot of people depicted in artwork. But they do have a solid foundation in other performing arts, including classical music, which is a foundational part of any member of the upper classes within Ottoman society. And you have interesting mix of Eastern and Western instruments and varieties that create a distinct Ottoman music. This is an example of that blend of varieties that the Ottoman Empire became known for. So this is kind of what Ottoman classical music sounds like. I'm going to play about 20 seconds of it here. So that's an example of this kind of blend of the Eastern and Western musics that was common throughout the Ottoman Empire. Additionally, they have shadow plays, which are an interesting way of getting around the depiction of human form. You have a white screen and you have puppets on the other side of it. And you press those puppets up against that screen and you can create vivid scenes, kind of like a medieval version of a movie that was quite interesting and quite popular within the Ottoman Empire. Our final topic of the day gets into science and technology. Now, a fuller discussion of science and technology would take an entire lesson, and I'm not going to do that here. But I do want to highlight the fact that the Ottomans were very scientific in their approach to the world. Ms. Crowitz would be a big fan of the Ottoman Empire. They had a tremendous respect for knowledge and the accumulation of knowledge. And it is through their study and their collection and understanding of ancient texts that the Ottomans are a big part of reviving the ancient sciences. They even advance some new ones. And by 1600, if you were to look at the average Ottoman and the average European, the Ottomans really had a much better understanding of medicine and a much better understanding of astronomy. If Galileo had lived within the Ottoman Empire, he would have found a lot more acceptance and understanding of his ideas and a lot more open-minded approach to this than we know Galileo faced in Europe. So that was really the advances of the sciences and technology within the Ottoman Empire, within the context of these greater cultural accomplishments during the Pax Ottomana. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I will see you for our next one.